Welcome back. So today we're just going to be going over not necessarily how to, edit text or graphics or anything that quickly, but we're actually just going to go over creating the zones. So we're going to be using primarily these two features, as well as this break list feature. Um, so everything that I'm going to be doing is pretty much all mouse movements. So first thing I'm going to do is, well, first of all, I set the sensitivity to 0 because if we use the Equidox versions of the, zone scanning, we get a lot of misreads like this. So I'm going to manually do this, get my heading 1 here, and I'll worry about the actual text of that later. So then, I might want to describe the caption and then the graphic and then the source. And this is all pretty generic right now, but then we get to a list like this. And this is actually where, these shortcuts really shine. So we see that we have 3 columns like this. So you're wondering, why would I create one zone? Well, that's because if I hold shift and then right click, there's this little purple bar that comes up. And actually, I can use that to split this zone. So now we see these were both 5. Now this is 5 and this is 6. And I can do the same thing if I don't hold shift and just right click. This becomes its own zone as well. So now these are our lists, and normally how you would do it is, you convert it to a list. Maybe you try the sensitivity, but it's, pretty finicky. And it takes a really long time if you do anything other than sensitivity 1. Um, and, if we look at our preview, um, it's actually not looking super good right now, because it doesn't have the 6.1a, 6.1b. That's all getting cut off by this automatic sensitivity. So I'm going to actually just delete these and reset this to 0. So how I would do this is actually using that Control-Shift-B shortcut. It automatically finds the bullet points, and instead of using a finicky little AI, it actually has its own algorithm that will find the splits. But obviously it can't do the subzones because it wants to be as accurate as possible, and if it's creating random subzones, which if you use this AI sensitivity, you're going to see it creates a lot of weird subzones or sublists that shouldn't be there. So we let the user do that manually. And if you're trying to create a list inside of this list, normally you have to create the list and then or create the zone and drag it in afterward, and then you have to adjust the dimensions, all that. But we can actually hold control right now. You can already see there is a difference in the mouse. It's no longer trying to drag. It's actually only going to create the zone. So you no longer have to worry about that. And then we can select our zone, use the Control-Shift-B again, which again just breaks up the list. And now we already have that part done. You can do it again. And even something like this, where it's super far away and there's this huge space here, it will automatically find that. Yeah, and then we get the page number, and we now have everything ready to go. So if you wanted to, actually, let's go to a new page for this. Let's find some text. So if you wanted to split this up, you could do it just like this. And then obviously we started over here. We probably should have started somewhere over here, right? So how we can actually deal with that is using Control-Shift-M, which right now it automatically goes top down, similar to the way that this reorder button works natively. But sometimes you have to deal with weird things, text overflowing before you can get to the thing that's actually on top, overflowing from another page. So we can use this to choose the order. So I want to do those three first, and then everything else is fine top down. So then I press enter, and then it's good. So these are just some zone creation things. Also, if I shift right click to vertical split this list, I can just get rid of those bullet points, which will be helpful for when we actually convert it to custom so that it doesn't try to read those as text. So that is just like a quick rundown of how to quickly create zones. One last feature, we're going to be using this in quite a few videos because it has a lot of features, but for a numbered list like this, we would normally have to go to ordered, and by default it's numbers starting from 1. But if this was, for example, lowercase letters starting with B, we would have to do it like that. Just a lot of steps. We can actually still use our mouse for this as well. If we middle click, we can change the style. So we can choose numbers, and then we can choose the starting number as 1. And then these extra features we'll get into in the next video. But these are, like I said, mostly mouse movements, good for just spamming out zones, getting those all done before we can actually use the other shortcuts to make sure the text and the descriptions are correct. One last thing that I wanted to mention is with lists, if you do a horizontal split, it will actually split the list into those individual items. So, and then you can, right click on one of those splits to remove it as well. So this is a lot faster than using the usual method with Equidox, where you have to use these arrows, and then if you need one, let's say you need one right here, there's no actual guarantee that you're going to get it there. And if you've already made all of these zones custom or something, then it's a really big pain because you can't just bring the splitter down there. You have to drag everything down. So it's just a lot faster for an instance where a list looks like a little too weird for Control-Shift-B to work. But generally, you won't have to use this that much, but it is something good to keep in mind.